Welcome to another amazing episode of the Bali Business Review. It is probably peak season now. As you can see, the streets are full. It's very, very busy. I'm standing here again on the very, very busy intersection of Jalan Dewi Street. This is one of the biggest and most active economic areas that connects the largest residential area to the largest commercial area. And as you can see today, it is pumping. It is very, very busy. We are arguably in peak season right now. But the trick is physical location everything that it seems to be? So besides physical location, there is another hidden location. There is another type of location that is unseeable to the naked eye. Come here with Vista and see for yourself something that never can be seen anywhere else online. Are you ready to see what it is? Watch this episode to find out more. It doesn't matter what is in the physical space. What really matters is what is in the digital space, what is actually happening online. I'm standing here on a side of the Jalan Sunset bypass as the main highway reaches the Kerobokan turnoff. And one of the surprising insights is that none of this commercial retail on each side of the road is very popular. I mean, it's just not doing very well at all. The extremely strange phenomenon is that traditionally, areas like this along both sides of major freeways were priced the highest for commercial retail value. However, the more enlightened understanding for any particular business that's thinking about selling a product, save for very few items such as perhaps furniture, spas, experiential businesses. So the one pattern that you see over and over again across many different regions, whether commercial or residential, is that physical space is losing its relevancy in order to get attention rather than digital space. Digital space is the position in which you are ranked and calculated on small screens that people carry around in their pockets in mobile applications. That space at the very top of every application, whether it's a e-commerce site like Tokopedia or a travel site like Traveloka or a vacation rental site like Airbnb, that space at the very top is the most prime real estate that any person that is hoping to get a customer in 2025 should be competing for. Now, competing for physical space like this here on the side of the bypass for a furniture store might make sense. For a nightclub might make sense. For a cafe and restaurant might make sense. But if you have a product or service, even an experiential value, it makes sense to actually qualify and rank that experience highly also online, because otherwise your customers aren't going to even waste the time to purchase a ride or even stop at your business. So we have a visitor from France, and we're getting street knowledge and street ground truth about how people are finding places. So, comment découvrir cette business ici?
Okay, for me, Instagram
Right.
and TikTok.
Okay, online. Okay,
Yes,
Instagram,
online,
TikTok.
yes.
Are there any hashtags that you look for? Like what?
Food Changu,
Food Changu?
breakfast Changu. for
Breakfast Changu.
restaurant.
Okay.
I don't remember, maybe.
Okay.
Changu.
Okay, simple ones, right? Food Changu,
Yes,
Breakfast
yes.
Changu. Okay, so those are the new things people need to
Coffee
do.
spot.
Coffee spot, yeah?
Yes.
Do you search in English or in French?
English and French.
English and French.
Yes.
Okay. And
It's better in English.
do you look for new, most popular, or do you look with your eyes to see which one is the best?
Maybe most popular.
Most popular.
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool. Pack journalism. I'm in Kuta, and it's the first day of August of 2025. Here's what the traffic looks like. It's pretty healthy. There's a good lineup of congestion in Kuta, and in addition to having it be a good proxy indicator for market activity, it's also a good place to begin with our discussion about location. Oh wow, Speaking of location, looking down this way, this used to be a super commercial area led by one of the first Rip Curl stores right here. Now it's a BGS store. But this location used to be thriving for commercial real estate, and now it has seen better days. But it leads to a really interesting question. And the question is, of course, how is location actually valued in the age of AI, in the age of the internet, in the age of social media? And how much does physical location actually compare with your online location and the placement in terms of your ranking in the online location? Well, Kuta itself should actually be one of the most prosperous areas of Bali because it is located so close to the airport. But this is what we see right here in the sort of devastation of a location that has all the physical attributes correct. But where did Kuta fail? Kuta failed in many ways because of the culture of Kuta was to remain kind of rooted in the past. And what exactly do I mean by that? So if you take a look and you think about the direction in which the history evolved of tourism and travel in Bali, the early days when people used to come to Bali, Kuta was a fabulous location. Kuta was a fabulous location because it was close to the beach. Kuta was also very accessible. There was no traffic, transportation, and taxi rides were cheap to get to Kuta. You had the beach and everything that you could really ask for in Bali and experience right there. But how did a position that was so close to the airport, that was so economic to get to, that required no congestion, no traffic to actually arrive at, become something as devastated as this huge arcade that is completely broken apart, looks like Chernobyl in here? The best explanation for the devastation that you see in front of you that I have is one of a dependency on walk-in guests as a culture. What do I mean by that? So, I don't know if you guys know this. When I first started living in Bali, I lived in Kuta. I lived on Jalan Poppies 2 at this place called Bali Manik Hotel. And how do I get there? I was carrying my suitcase. I was a backpacker, but using a suitcase, which ironically made me a suitcaser. But I was carrying my suitcase around, going from inn to inn, hostel to hostel, hotel to hotel, looking for a good rate, and I would be considered what you would call a walk-in guest. A walk-in guest is somebody who is searching literally for an accommodation by walking the floor and walking around. And at the time, that was the culture. At the time, people were looking for accommodations by scanning around the neighborhood, walking from place to place, because you couldn't make bookings online, even if you wanted to at the time. I don't think they had websites back then that took bookings. There was certainly no Traveloka, there was certainly no Booking.com. And a lot of people, I think, didn't even use credit cards at the time. So the culture was very much walk from door to door. And some of the people who were a little bit more educated would actually have a Lonely Planet, which is this now defunct guidebook that was an essential piece of being able to find your way around Southeast Asia when there was no Instagram, no internet, no ChatGPT. And so it was the default way to actually get some knowledge about what it actually things to do. So Kuta, for a very long time, got very, very committed to that sort of culture. That was a culture. And you can see their culture here. There's like 100 stores that sell these fluffy, dream catcher things. There's 100 stores that sell those like surfer relics and stuff, and they never change. And 100 stores that sell this spa thing here. And so because the culture never changed, because there was no willingness to find a way to succeed online, what happened was Kuta slowly and surely didn't get any reviews. And because it didn't get reviews online, what happened over time was Kuta started becoming invisible. Or the only reviews were negative reviews, which you can see here in this heat map. And the negative reviews started making Kuta fail as a region. The reviews would show that there was partying, loud noise, and for some reason the people who had maybe positive experiences because they walked in, they had no relationship with the internet, and so they would not be leaving even a good review on the internet. So over time, what happened in Kuta is that there was a lack of actual reviews being built in the location of Kuta, while other regions down the line, like Canggu, Seminyak, and Bukit, were transitioning fairly well as content makers and packed journalism and all these other forces were basically bringing an abundance of reviews and reputation growth to new areas. And so these days, Kuta looks like a ghost town. The one thing that you find with everybody who goes to Kuta is that people in Kuta just don't seem to know. People in Kuta come because of a package tour, or they are, I would say, Luddites, or they don't really read Instagram or TikTok, and they are not shopping amongst the vast catalogs of really worthwhile experiences to have. This is me, Voigt. I'm gonna stop here for lunch because I love Vietnamese food. And no, Miu Voi does not pay me to put this here. I just simply really love Vietnamese food. Okay, so this is Miu Voi. So Miu Voi actually opened on the worst time in history for Kuta because they opened during COVID. If I can get one of the menus, I'll show you. Okay, so this is the Miu Voi menu. And actually this is a pretty smart design because this allows you to add content to the menu whenever you have any updates without having to do reprints. So that's pretty economical. Here's the critical thing. The critical thing is that they actually planted their story here, right here, all this stuff. Why is that critical? Why does that actually make a difference? Well, you see, when people come to patronize your businesses, you want them to write the correct review. You want them to actually go and tell the story the way that you, as the host of your business, should have it told. When you don't really put any narrative out in a way that people can understand it, then the narrative eventually gets hijacked by whomever and maybe has a stronger opinion. So seeding the right story correctly and then counting on packed journalism, counting on essentially the reviews then to propagate the story. I think that led to the expansion of Miu Voi across to almost 10, let's fact check that, 8 different locations. And so how is that possible? How can you expand so quickly across to 8 different locations? It's because your brand actually has been well told through all the reviews, through all the people who have come here. They've been able to essentially, you've given them an anchor point to fall in love with your brand. You've given them the correct story to tell. The rest of Kuta eventually didn't really get this correct. Every walk-in that came by Kuta that couldn't figure out how to leave a story, how to correctly frame their experience was another lost opportunity for future business. But the changes on the internet made everyone more adept at booking ahead and choosing their experiences and their accommodations before arrival. Businesses like, once again, these guys that still don't get the picture, the money changers, the little war rooms, and all these businesses that still rely on walk-in traffic that have no signage, that have no story, that simply make business based on bargaining gullible travelers who have not read any reviews, are internet blind, then that is collectively what led to the downfall of Kuta. And culture is a hard thing to change. The culture is especially more difficult to change if the region has experienced success before. That's pretty much my explanation of how the internet and the culture of walk-in guests and who would choose based on looking at, let's say, physical location, it's what ultimately led to the failure of Kuta as a region. Even though, strategically speaking, its location is actually very, very strategic and strong. It has all the components of what a strong region should be. I think really understanding how to innovate and seek that alignment through creation of new experiences and services that are compatible with the times, whereas Kuta here just lost the narrative here. So we'll finish out where we began again. Not all businesses are positioned the same on the online space, just like not all businesses are positioned the same in the physical world. But as you can see, as we went through the different kinds of businesses, there is an enormous impact on ranking and competitive advantage by attaining the highest position possible, not just in your physical, but more importantly, in your online presence. Hopefully this insight will guide more business owners successfully navigating through the new complexities with the rising advent AI technology in digital marketing, in social media marketing, and other factors that can really competitively affect hospitality performance. This could also explain why traditional areas such as Nusa Dua, such as Sonora, are not capturing as much of the growth of the future. Simply put, because they just don't have as many users leaving online reviews as other areas where younger, more technologically adept users are posting and constantly generating a lot of online traffic for future users to be able to use, but also more importantly for AI to be able to process as data to give recommendations. Now, continue with our next episode on the Bali Business Review, where we're going to bring you more insights and more exciting discoveries filmed right here on the streets of Bali. And don't forget, comment and subscribe if you want to always be kept up to date on the latest business intelligence in Bali. Signing off here from Seminyak, this is the Bali Business Review.